listening to the Bag of Games Game Out Loud podcast for Tuesday, April 9th, 2013. Hello, welcome to the Bag of Games Game Out Loud podcast. I'm your host, Rob Peterson, and with me today, of course, I have the calamitous Colin Cooper.
Calamitous. I'm trying to figure out. So that's what tense of calamity is that? That's the present of calamity? Is that, or how does that work?
Well, it's not a tense. It is calamity turned into an adjective.
Oh, right. Okay, so that's good. I like that. Thank you. I like that. Only in video games, though. The rest of my life, I'm very uncalamitous.
If you were in the Old West, you'd be Calamity Colin.
That's actually pretty badass. I don't mind being associated with Calamity James.
I think you'd actually be Calamity Cooper. That sounds a little more Western.
Or Calamity Colin Cooper, or whatever. I mean, it's
Calamity Chuck.
We're in the realm of possibilities.
Infinite possibilities.
Whoa.
And also there, as usual, who's about to hate me, the gelatinous Jordan Rusnak.
Ho, 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 bowl full of jelly, and fuck you, Rob. I just want to point out, listeners, this is actually our like second or third recording of this, and my name has stayed the same every time. I've been gelatinous. Colin has changed. I don't understand. It's almost like this jello is stuck within me.
You know, Jordan, if you didn't complain about it so much, I'd stop using it. But just your reaction is worth it every single time. So
yeah, but then you get Colin stuck with coital, and no one likes that.
No one. I don't even like hearing that word. It's just...
Yeah, I don't mind it.
I mean, I don't mind the act, but anyway, we're getting a little too personal here. So let's start with you, Colin. What have you been playing this week, man?
Well, obviously it's like crazy, wacky classic week, so we'll get to that. So I've obviously been playing our classic title. Woohoo! We're crazy. But beyond that, there are a couple things I want to talk about. The first thing is I went back for whatever reason and played like a whole night, like 8 hours straight. I'm like waiting on my job right now, so I have lots of time on my hand. So
lots of times on my hand.
And I played like 8 hours straight or something crazy of Civ 5 again. I don't know why, but I have like 50 some hours in that game now. And
isn't Civ 6 coming out soon or was announced or something? I don't really follow these games that close, but am I just making that up?
No, I don't think you are.
I probably just made someone shit their pants for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't because Gods and Kings only came out like the huge, gigantic, almost new game worth of content came out like 8 months ago for this game. So I would be, and this game's only a year and a half old too, I think, right? Or not even that. I'm not even sure, but it's definitely. If a new one's coming out, they are on that production bandwagon hardcore. So, but what I've been enjoying about it again is finding, there's always new things to find about the game. There's always new ways to win. So I decided finally to actually go through with a militaristic playthrough, and I immediately found it boring and unsatisfactory. Because it gets so confusing. You have so many units on the battlefield because you can't stack your units, so you have to put them places, and you've got them all over the place, because if you could stack them, you could put them all strategically, on one tile or one hex, but you've got to put them all over the place on your borders or on the borders of players you're attacking or wherever, and it just gets to be kind of a hassle. Either you put some to sleep because you don't want to have to worry about them every turn because you've got other parts of your empire to deal with, or you forget about them because you put them to sleep somewhere. So I don't know. I found the combat way to be the least fun. What's interesting about the game, though, is then I immediately went back and did a science playthrough, which is one I've won on before, and I find that the AI is so aggressive, and I'm too scared to go online and play another human. So the AI is so aggressive that you can't play a peaceful playthrough without getting attacked from somebody, essentially. So there's you have to run a happy medium of doing enough military to keep strong, and then also being, whatever cultural, scientific, or faith-based as you want for that form of victory. But yeah, I mean, I'm finding it to be obviously I'm complaining about it, but I've got 53 hours in the game, and I find it to be incredibly enjoyable. But only halfway. Most of the games I play through are literally halfway through the game, and then I stop. So I don't know. I really like the beginning of the game is really fun though.
Well, I guess the question that's sticking out for me here is, when did you become such a wuss?
Oh, because I won't go online and play with people. Because like I know that people. This is my first Civilization game, and I know I'm bad at it. Because I don't understand the faith system. There's some things I just don't that happen, and I don't know why they happen, and I know probably, and I just don't care enough to find out. So I know that would fuck me over in a game. So just like Go ahead.
You don't think it's just randomness in the design? There's actually systems in the game that you just don't quite have nailed down yet.
I think, yeah, that's definitely a huge part of it. There's definitely a lot of randomness in the game, I think, too. I mean, that's when combating the AI, though, too. It's like StarCraft. I love StarCraft a lot. I think it's a freaking awesome game, and I played it for probably well over 100 hours, the first one, and I never played it online once because I know some kid in Korea would kick my ass.
Right.
Because he's probably on his deathbed because he hasn't eaten in 3 days or drinking anything in 3 days, and has like been playing for 72 hours straight.
So he's in North Korea?
Probably south.
Hey, speaking of StarCraft, did any of us pick up the new Gentle Giant one that came out recently that didn't make much of a splash?
The Heart of the Swarm was the new expansion, although it's pretty much a new game. It's a full camp for the Zerg, which is the xenomorph-looking alien type thing, and I don't know. It's a full game that's $50, but you have to have the first game, which I do have, StarCraft 2, but I didn't want to pay $50 for an expansion.
Yeah, well, and it's weird. I'm sure it sold a quadrillion copies, but I didn't see much press about it or anything. I saw a few tweets, and it popped up on Metacritic, but it really was, like I said, a gentle giant. It just kind of came out, and people were like, oh, yep, more StarCraft, and that's kind of what I heard about it. So I was just curious if anyone had tried it.
I heard Giant Bomb talking about it, and they were just kind of like, yeah, it's more StarCraft.
Huh. Everyone seems to think it's great. I mean, that it's par for the course, though. It's not like reinvented the wheel, nor did StarCraft 2 reinvent the wheel, though.
Right. Well, anything else you've been playing this week, Colin?
Yes, I just want to mention again some Bioshock Infinite stuff, some really crazy stuff I kind of saw this week. Mild spoilers here, nothing major here, so if you haven't played it, maybe tune out for a second, but no major spoilers here. We were talking about this right before the podcast, and some things that I directly heard. A lot of the meat of the story comes from the voxophones, which are the recordings that are in every Shock game, and the Lutece twins, who are these ethereal physicist twins. They're not twins; they are the same person. And I didn't find this out till well into my second playthrough. There's a voxophone that says, like, there's multiple voxophones that say, they start, like, she finds out he exists, starts being able to see him, and then they start sending messages to each other through rifts, and then she finally pulls him in, and then he's having problems with his dual memories, and then she heals him. So she finds a way to heal him, because she's like, well, we're only one chromosome apart, and we're the same person, so we can figure this out, and they somehow do.
See, I figured this out actually, or I was starting to in my first playthrough, because there are several things that led me to that conclusion. Like, there's a thing where the brilliant mind of Columbia brings her brother. She had a brother? Who knew?
Right, yes, there's that. And another thing that's crazy that I noticed that's super subtle and just the game, the more I play it, is just fucking genius. There's this moment where you're going up towards Comstock House, and if you look, there's all these moments of the Lutece twins either playing baseball and they're having conversations back and forth, and there's one where he's painting her, but when you look at the painting, it's a self-portrait.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's very telling, obviously, as well. And that's part of the thing where he's like, I was like, I told you that. She's like, no, you didn't. I was going to tell you. I had told you? I hadn't told you? Like, no, that doesn't make sense. And they're like debating these semantics, and absolutely.
Yeah. I love the Lutece twins at the beginning. If you like, there's their conversation about rowing, and he's like, "Oh, he doesn't row." Well, why not? He doesn't row, yeah. Meaning he has never rowed.
Yeah.
In all these times they've done this, he has never rowed.
Yeah. No, I love that. And another couple of things I found that are just little tiny, not as big world things, but little interesting mechanic things is that when you possess I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, when you possess a human enemy, I always assumed like the mechanical enemies that they turn on you again, but they don't. They commit suicide.
Oh, you didn't notice that first time around?
Didn't.
I brought this up.
I just noticed really recently, like yesterday.
Oh, I love the lines like you hit them with it, they kill everybody, and then if you listen to what they're saying, like I remember a lady, "Oh, what happened? I just must have snapped. There's nothing I can do about it," and she puts a gun in her mouth and just pulls the trigger. Or the guy who if a guy has a bat, he'll bash his own brains out with a bat.
That's where I noticed it first. I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." Because I would possess them and then kill them. I would spend bullets and kill them because I assumed that they would go back. Just because in the heat of the moment, I figured murder was the better option, like in life.
Well, you are Booker DeWitt.
Right. He always things always end in blood for Booker DeWitt, as he says. Anyway, also a couple other things I wanted to mention is I was playing my second playthrough was on 1999 mode, which is really fun. I found I got stuck for a minute, and then I got past that, and now I haven't gotten stuck again since at even larger difficulty spikes, like Lady Comstock. I plowed through her first battle, at least.
Good job, buddy. High five.
Thank you.
Because Lady Comstock.
Right. Well, I got when you find equipment in the game, it's all randomized. So this time,
really.
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
I never would have guessed that in a million years. It felt very deliberately placed to me.
Really? Are you serious or sarcastic? I couldn't.
Hey, fuck you. I mean, serious.
Oh, I couldn't tell either. No, yeah.
I literally was like, oh wow, Colin, I couldn't tell. I thought they were placed. Like, oh, okay, jerk.
No, I mean, serious. Now, does the equipment appear in the same spots? It's just different kinds of equipment, or is it really randomized?
It's randomized as far as what the equipment will be.
Oh, okay, that makes a little more sense. Because I was going to say it felt like there was a very heavy-handed design element there. With they always had something there for you to use at just the right place and stuff like that. So
yeah, but the thing is the equipment's randomized, which opens up a whole strategic, the whole level of strategic interest for you. Because say for Lady Comstock, by the way, here's how I beat her nearly in 30 seconds on the first go through was I have a bunch of different melee equipment. One was if I hit them, they burst into flames, 300 damage per second.
I love that one.
Another is they become vulnerable and your weapon does ×2 damage. Another is it's like your range increases, and there's a fourth one. So I had
your melee range increases by 3 times. Oh my god.
Shouldn't matter so much for what I was doing because I was using charge. So I was using the charge vigor, and I was just like charging it hard, charge, hit her, come back. She's vulnerable, ×2 damage, like up in her face, almost fully upgraded shotgun. Blam,
so
blam.
You can melee her?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't even know that. I always fought her from a distance. I figured ghost, you can't punch.
But charge. Anyway. But if you charge her, you can go across the screen, like across the whole map. So you get in her face, she becomes vulnerable, put shots in her, back up, do it again, repeat, and she was dead instantly. It was great.
That's a good strategy, and I've read a lot of strategies on how to beat her, and I have not heard that one yet.
Yeah, I just struck it kind of lucky with the what I had available equipment wise because I was having trouble with her, and I was like, okay, this isn't working. So I thought I'd get up close in her face. I had a shotgun, and I changed all my equipment around. I've been doing that a lot too throughout this playthrough. I've been changing my equipment to suit the moment.
I didn't know you could do that. I played the entire game with the stuff I picked up and different gear I would take, but I never knew I could hit O to open up the fucking menu to bring all that stuff up.
Well, yeah. And I knew it. I just never found a use for it, really. But I think I started a 1999 playthrough as well, and I think it's going to have a lot more use in there because it really does force you to think about what you're using at a given time.
And I remember, Rob, you had mentioned you didn't get the Return to Sender Vigor on your first playthrough, and I got it at a random place. and I found the place where you actually get it. Where it first is possibly available, which is in a secret area. I won't ruin it for our listeners. If you want to know, I'll tell you later. It's late game. I found it just sitting on the ground, and I thought that's where you got it. I was like, that's kind of random to like the place you would find like a pretty important vigor, but it's actually this whole sequence of events you have to go through, and you find this back alley or back room secret. Literally a secret room where you press a button and a wall opens up, and that's where you're supposed to get the vigor for the first time. So.
Oh, I never got it there. I got it on the ground.
Yeah, I got it on the ground for the first time as well.
I never used the vigor, but.
Oh, dude, it makes Patriots fall at your mercy. Like they're just Patriots are nothing at the hand of the return to sender, because you just go up to them, catch all their bullets until they're done shooting, and they always have a round where they have like a 2-second break in between each round of shooting, hit them with that, which is devastating, and then blam blam, get off a couple shots and do it again.
Huh.
I could never figure out how to fully use the return to sender. Like, I tried it and it never worked right for me, so I just passed it up.
I have to say, it's the most powerful vigor in the game, because anyone that shoots at you catch all their bullets. So anyone that's shooting at you, you catch all of their bullets, and then you throw it at someone. No matter how many you have in your hand, it's going to kill the person for sure who you're throwing it at, unless they're a higher level enemy. And then you've got time to blam blam. And the first function of it sets a magnetic barrier around you and gives you like 1 or 2 seconds of complete invulnerability from ammo.
Huh.
So it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I need to replay this game. I clearly missed a lot of stuff.
Dude, I tell you, the more I play it, the more fantastic I'm finding it. So I know I'm being long-winded here, so I'll stop now. But seriously, the more I play this game, the higher on my all-time list it's just climbing. So.
Cool. Yeah, I'm not sure where that fits in on mine yet. I'm going to give it a few months, but definitely going to replay it in the meantime. What have you been playing this week, Jordan?
I've been playing this little-known indie title. It's called Bioshock Infinite.
Okay, what else you been playing this week, Jordan?
Well, hold on. I want to get my damn 2 cents in. Just because he talked about it doesn't mean I don't get to. But I'm going to kind of mirror what he said. The more I play this game, the more I'm just like, this game is moving higher and higher up on the scale. I'm doing my second playthrough. I went through on hard the first time, unlike you two chumps.
I played on hard.
Yeah, you played on hard. You played on hard after I told you could. Anyway,
play through.
Colin, did you hear Colin? Is that Colin? No, I'm kidding. I was more giving Rob crap because he's like, yeah, I'm playing on medium. I'm like, what?
But just to call out semantics, as Lutess would say.
But no, I'm noticing things more and more as I go through, and man, I love this game. Having played it through and having the knowledge of what is going on is allowing me to look at everything in a completely different light. So I'm just having a lot of fun with that. Last night, I ended up playing a late night session for about 2 hours with Marco Cari from Bag of Games of Sonic All-Star Racings. And that, my friends, was a lot of fun. I reiterate, if you are looking for a kart racer, Sonic is fantastic. It scratches that itch, and it's one of these games that I will try to convince these other two yahoos to pick up, just so that we can play it together, because
I don't know, man. The kart game?
Yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun. I'm down. How much is it, though?
Yeah, that's my big
Wait for it to be on sale.
Okay.
Why? What is it, like $30 right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. About $30. I'd do 10.
Now I've seen it go. Yeah, well, that would be preferable. I've only seen it go down to 17, so that's what I got it at.
Yeah, that's rough.
It's pretty good though.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. They have several different online modes, like 6 of them. 2 of them are races, one of them involving battles, so you try to wipe everybody out and get to the finish. They've got like a capture the flag kind of mode where the flag moves and you pick it up and try to get it back. Of course, battles, races, I mean, all the fun stuff that you get in karts. And the level designs are just fantastic. They're beautiful. Half the time we were playing last night, Marco Cari was just sitting there going, oh, man, it looks so good. Oh, man.
That's actually a really good impression of him.
And I agree. The levels we were playing, they just looked fantastic. They were really outworldly. And each they took kind of a page out of Smash Brothers, and you know how Smash Brothers had levels designed around the characters that were in the game? They have the same thing here. So the All-Stars are Sega's lineup of games, and the levels are based in different game worlds. So you might have, I don't know what the Mexican mechanical monkey's from, but his world's pretty cool. And then you've got like the Jet Set Radio guy. He has a world, and I play as him quite a bit. Sonic, of course, has a lot of worlds and stuff like that, but each world has its own unique feel. And the cool thing about it is that no 3 laps are going to be the same, or no lap is going to be the same out of the 3 laps in the map, because the transformed bit is where you go through these gates and become either a jet, like a car, or some sort of watercraft.
Yeah, I'm looking at screenshots here, and it looks pretty eclectic for a kart racer. I mean, it looks pretty wild.
Oh, it is, and the graphics are great. The gameplay is solid, and that's what's really crazy, is that they nailed this competitive kart feeling, but then gave you all these different mediums to do it. So, like, you're going around and you're running around, and say you're not very good on the boats, well, all of a sudden you hit a thing, and now you're in the air, and you rocket the air. Well, then you can get far enough ahead. And it adds some interesting balance changes, especially with weapons. They have, of course, weapons that you can shoot at each other that will slow them down, cause them to drop their coins, which you use to get items, and of course just let you overtake them because they are now stopped and stunned. It was a lot of fun. We ended up playing from about 11 o'clock my time till about 1 o'clock.
Wow.
So we played a couple hours just having a blast. And if I didn't have to get up and work the next morning, I would have kept going because it was just that much fun. Sonic and All-Star Racing Transformed, great one. Another thing I'm playing this week is a little acid trip I like to call Antichamber.
Oh, yeah. How's that? That was very interesting looking.
If someone were to take and code acid into a video game, LSD, then this is what you would get if it was a first-person shooter. The
It's
laws
a
of
shooter?
physics. Well, it's first-person.
Oh, okay.
First-person puzzle solving, but it's not like puzzle solving as far as like physics go, because physics don't mean shit in this world. Like, you can walk down a corridor, turn around, and it's a different corridor. You are trying to figure out these little strange puzzles to advance to the exit. And I found the exit, and then it told me life isn't about exits. Keep going. And I'm like, okay.
So it's like an 80s fantasy movie or something?
I don't know. David Bowie was standing there with like these like glass balls. I don't understand.
Is that a metaphor for something?
It definitely seems to take a note from Portal, right? I mean, like, I'm looking at it now, and like the basicness of it, you know, like puzzles with wall pictures on the wall, kind of giving you an idea of what might happen. It's, I mean, obviously it went down the rabbit hole. It's like Portal that went down the rabbit hole.
Exactly, but those pictures don't denote anything really.
Well, I'm looking at the video, but
you click on the picture and it gives you sort of this cryptic message. Like there's one thing where it says sometimes you have to look from somebody else's perspective. And you're looking at this lattice work thing, and if you look at it, there's another lattice work thing on the other side, but there's a glass wall looking between you guys, and you need to get on the other side. So if you go and you get close to that lattice work to the point where it's filling your entire screen, you will magically jump to the other side and then keep going.
Huh.
You will see open chasms where if you walk slow enough, it will build roads in front of you.
So this isn't based on like a mechanic the way Portal is. This is very much each puzzle's kind of its own little self-contained game almost.
Exactly. It's figure out how to get from point A from point A to point C through point B.
But you have some sort of gun that does something.
That is, as far as I can tell, I've only gotten one of them. There seems to be multiple. That is an object for picking up blocks. There are blocks in the world that you use to insert into different crevices to cause things to happen. So part of the trick is finding enough blocks.
What I'm seeing is the gun is either, sometimes it looks like it's shooting little blocks or dissolving blocks even, it looks like.
It's absorbing those blocks into itself. If you look at it, there's a ring of blocks in the center of that gun. You pick them up and then you can eject them out. So that thing can hold, I think, an infinite amount of blocks. So for example, I fell down this hole and it told me to restart. And I was like, well, screw that. There was this thing with a whole bunch of blocks that kept filling up, so I just filled up my thing like with as many blocks as I could. Looked down and started shooting them and built myself a ramp all the way back up.
Huh.
This sounds pretty awesome. I'm tempted to get this right now almost.
But
I need to wait.
Yeah, I'd wait. I can't give you a definitive answer whether it's good or not yet, because a lot of it seems to be haphazard solving at trial and error. It's not so much let's think about this and see what we can do. It's more like, okay, what kind of weird thing did the programmer put in this time? Granted, I love that kind of thing, but I think you're more of the think about it puzzle guy, right?
So you don't feel like that genius moment, like in Portal?
Well, you do feel that aha moment, but it's not because I just use physics to accelerate myself over a gap and up a gangplank. It's more like, okay, yay, I figured out how to get past this part. Now I know this little aspect, but it doesn't seem to come into play later on as much. So like things, you don't seem to be building on the knowledge that you gain. Each little chamber seems to have its own weird sense of physics and weird sense of teaching you something. So like I walked into this room and there were these cubes, these large cubes that were larger than my proposed size, and each side had something different, but they were like, it was like a glass cube, so you're looking into it, but each side had something different. And so I went around every cube just looking at everything, and it turns out one of them had a hallway down it, leading back like into where there was nothing before, but now it's a hallway. So it doesn't seem to have any rhyme or reason as to how the physics work, that's great for me. I love acid trips in games. Like, that's fantastic. I love the dream sequences in Far Cry 3 and the all that kind of stuff. So that works really well for me, but it may not work well for some others. I'm gonna do a live stream of if I can get it how to figure out how to get it to work. Live stream didn't seem to like that very much, but if I can get it to work, I'll tweet about it and we'll see if we can get some people watching. But also,
the acid trips in Far Cry 3 were my least favorite parts. So if that's if they're equating it to that at all, I don't know if it'll be my flavor.
Just an aside, did you guys see the new expansion for Far Cry 3?
No, retro thank God.
Style? Yeah, it's called Blood Dragon.
What is it?
It is
an expansion for Far Cry 3.
It's an expansion for Far Cry 3, but it turns it into an 80s style, like sci-fi movie vibe. It's like everything's neon and there's cyborgs that have taken over and everyone has really ridiculous names. Mode. It's not. It doesn't look like Tron. It's like a gritty, like late 80s sci-fi vibe. You play Cyber Commando Sergeant Rex Power Colt.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Look it up. It looks fucking awesome.
Oh my God. I want this right now.
I wish I could play it. My Far Cry 3 has stopped working. If anybody knows how to get past the infinite loading screen on Far Cry 3 PC, give us a shout out at gameoutloudpodcast@gmail.com. I'd really fucking appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have that figured out by the time this comes out. But anything else you've been playing, Jordan?
Yes, I'll keep it short though. Anybody who sees Just Cause 2 online for a decent price for PC should pick it up and mod the shit out of it. I am having a blast modding Just Cause 2. I now have unbreakable grappling hooks, and I can make as many of them as I want. So you can just imagine the hijinks that come out of that.
Yeah, we saw some of that on your live stream, and it was pretty ridiculous.
Can I just say real quick, I'm looking at this Blood Dragon thing, and holy shit. Just everyone needs to go see this. So, oh my God.
Yeah, it looks super duper awesome.
Oh, yeah.
As far as myself, I won't get into Bioshock Infinite. I think we've covered that pretty well. So I will go with a totally different game, which is Bioshock.
Have you been going back through it?
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, I know. But I did. I came off a pretty big high with Bioshock Infinite, and you know what? I'm well known on this podcast to like Bioshock just fine, but I'm not a really big fan of it. And I think playing Infinite, like playing System Shock 2, then playing Infinite, and is kind of letting me enjoy the middle child a little bit more. I've really been having fun with it, and I'm kind of taking for what it is, trying not to compare it so much with System Shock 2, and it's a really excellent game. I'm having a blast with it.
The irregular or non-existent, it seems like, Mark Daly is actually getting his first playthrough of Bioshock this weekend.
Oh, really?
What?
He's never played it?
He's never played it. He's borrowing it from a friend of ours, and I asked him if he would kindly enjoy it. And yeah, I'll be talking with him about it on Monday to see. His son wants to play Bioshock Infinite, but he doesn't want to play it without having any sort of information. So they are playing Bioshock this weekend. So I am really jealous because Bioshock's one of those games from my childhood that I still look back and I go, I
From
still
your
love
childhood?
Yeah, back in the day.
How old are you? Do we not know
You were
something?
like 21 when it came out.
Yeah.
I was not. I was like 19, 18.
Okay. Well, we'll have to get them on to talk about it. I'd love to hear what they think about it.
Yeah, good luck.
I've never, but I like Bioshock 1, but the Bioshock Infinite definitely kind of did something that the series, I feel like, needed drastically as far as gameplay and setting, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, the gameplay in Infinite definitely feels a lot tighter, especially the gunplay itself, just the feel of the guns and all that. But I don't know, it's still pretty fun to go in and fight these crazy splicers, and it's a much more atmospheric and almost scary game than Infinite.
It is.
So.
It's like I think I described it to one of our contributors and fan, Nick Tolvey. He had never played it, and it came with his copy of Infinite. And I was like, he was playing it first, and I was like, you don't need to play it first. I mean, he got like halfway through it, and then we fired up his game. I hung out with him recently, and we fired up his Infinite game and played the first 2 hours of it, and he understood, the link between the first, opening sequence of the game and how that's reminiscent of Bioshock 1. But obviously you could see, I think Ken Levine, first of all, and as a storyteller and whoever the lead writer was on Infinite, it's grown a lot,
Right.
So.
Wasn't he the lead writer?
He was.
No, there's someone who's actually named lead writer on the project who's not Ken Levine, but he's probably, I don't know. Ken Levine's the creative director, technically, is his title. And there's someone actually, I believe, who has the title of lead writer.
I saw that the lady who wrote Tomb Raider, what's her name? The fantasy writer's daughter was one of the writers. So that might be who we're talking about here. I can't believe her name's escaping me at the moment. But
there's actually, it was on one of the dev diaries.
That's a crazy name, dude.
I saw when I was watching one of the dev diaries, and it was a guy. It was a gentleman for sure who had the title, at least in his lower third, of lead writer for Infinite. So
okay. Well, anyway, yeah. I mean, I don't think we really need to talk that much more about Bioshock. I think most of our listeners have probably played it. So with that, I think we're gonna go ahead and take a break, and then we will start talking about Ultima VII, which was our classic game of the month.
Out loud. Game out loud.
And we are back. So this is going to be an extremely depressing hour, as I sing the praises of Ultima VII and am shot down in the heart by my cohorts here.
Dead and buried, sir.
Oh, well, I wouldn't go so far as to say buried.
I do want to say one thing, though, guys. Ultima VII. It's like if you took the beautiful world of Skyrim, the interactivity of Skyrim, the wonderful, creation, themes behind Bioshock Infinite, and you added Spider-Man and just happy-good-lucky goodness, and if it had none of that, you'd be playing Ultima VII.
Actually, it does have a
lot of those things.
I'm gonna go with Rob here and say, if all those games could have one game to thank, it would be Ultima 7. I mean, especially the Elder Scrolls.
Well, let's give a little context here, because this game is not exactly a household name in 2013. So
I think of Ultima as that one offshoot RPG series that I never played as a kid.
Yeah, a lot of people might think of it as vaguely something that inspired Baldur's Gate, which is what the Mass Effect dudes made back in the day or something. But this is actually
those weren't that far off, right?
Oh, it was 6 years. Sorry. So this game came out in 1992.
Really?
There was also a an SNES version of it that's apparently terrible. We all played the PC version.
Yeah.
It was
worse.
Quite.
There's an SNES. There's a Super Nintendo version of this.
I figured that would work better with the D-pad.
No, it's not like a straight port. It's a completely different game. Is the problem?
Oh, okay.
Because you just couldn't fit this game into a cartridge. But it's the 7th game in the Ultima series, obviously, which started, I want to say, in like 1980. It's when the first Ultima came out. It's a long time ago. And it's often considered the best chapter, at least in the main series. I would argue that Ultima Underworld is a slightly better game. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's start with you, Colin. Just generally, what are your kind of initial thoughts on this game? I know you played it back in the day, but seeing it with a fresh pair of 2013 eyes, what do you kind of think of it?
Yeah, I mean, like, I definitely came into the game excited. If our listeners remember, I believe it was actually during a podcast where you were talking about this, and I looked it up, Serpent's Isle, and I was like, oh my god, I have played this. Wasn't that during a what I played section?
It was indeed.
Yeah, it was a couple months ago on the podcast.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, I have played this with a good friend of mine when I was a childhood friend of mine named Jake Foster, and I remember that we were both playing this, and his brother was playing this, and his brother was older and like cool, and like we were like, wow, you're playing this. We like, I don't know if we quite got it at the time as much. We played less. He was really into it. We had our own game, and we watched him play a lot too. At his house. I didn't own the game. We always played at Jake's house. So coming into it, I was very, very excited. And when I sat down with it, I was not expecting, anything beyond what its time would have provided. But I immediately got sidetracked. Well, let me start at the beginning here. First of all, I spent about 2 to 3 hours getting it to work off of GOG, which is weird because usually they're pretty optimized for your system. What it came down to, funny enough, was just run as administrator, like a simple solution, right? And
3 hours, ladies and gentlemen, for running as administrator.
Okay, it wasn't the first suggestion on the support site on GOG. It was
I've been there.
It was first like upgrade everything on your operating system, upgrade your drivers, and like step 3 or 4 was like, if none of that works, run as administrator. And I was like, okay,
why not try that first? The easy right click and do that. Like, why not put that in the beginning? I don't understand why they did it that way.
I didn't think of it, because I have, it came with the complete pack, so I have the Serpent Isle as well as the Black Gate. So I tried Black Gate I tried Serpent Isle right after Black Gate crashed, and Serpent Isle ran the intro video, which was hilarious. And then crashed, so that didn't run either. So I kind of knew what I was getting into, first of all, with the game. And when I first got into it, too, I have to say, I know Rob had mentioned it was a meta game, as far as the Avatar kind of thing, and but I found that pretty
hokey.
No, I found it kind of endearing, actually, for the time period especially. I mean, seeing the PC, like the digital PC in the intro screen, like the static and everything was kind of hokey. But and now that I realize it's 92, I got to say, I mean, it's quite a feat. And because the first
this was like this was a graphics beast at the time. People upgraded their computers to play this back in 92, so it was a major release back then.
Oh, I'm sure. Like when the what's the bad guy with the red face's name? The
Guardian.
Guardian, and he comes out and gives you that little intro speech at the beginning. I mean,
Sapien-based demon guy.
It was ridiculous, for us. But like back in the day, I almost could put myself back in that place and be like, wow, that's cool. And especially, I did actually have that literal moment of wow, that's cool, and exceeded my expectations at the very start of the game, because you like come in and they're like, YOLO, as I call him. It's like LOLO.
Yeah, I think it is YOLO. I think you're pronouncing that correctly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I thought that
might be
IOLO. Symbol is actually a Y, but
oh, so it's like I thought that was kind of funny, like YOLO. We go into the barn or whatever, and you see that guy all splayed out, murdered, and I was kind of shocked by that. I was like, oh wow, that's fucking gruesome.
It's really brutal.
It's brutal. He's like he's tied up on 4 He's almost quartered essentially. Candles, yeah. Well, they were like they looked magic and then they went out. I guess I don't know. Because they were blue or something.
And something about it almost makes it more violent with the ancient 2D sprite graphics. It's just so unexpected that you're just kind of like, whoa.
It was unexpected. I really was. I thought it would be like a guy kind of like a shitty pixely guy kind of in a fetal position with some red around him. Nope.
It's
like
Hotline
a guy.
Miami all over again.
Yeah, right. No, it's a guy quartered, like drawn and quartered practically, and just sprawled out on the floor with like guts and all that goodness. So yeah, I mean, my first thoughts, I guess, rather, are that it's impressive. I can see what it would have been. It's very hard to approach now, though. You know, it doesn't have the tropes and the modern gaming aspects we look for that kind of simplify things for us. And the control pattern, oh my god, it took me like 20 minutes to learn how to freaking feed YOLO.
Yeah, I don't think the interface is actually that terrible. Actually, I'll step back from that a little bit because
it's that terrible.
Well, my main problem with it is that when you open menus, so you open your character menu and that's where you can save or change your inventory or all that stuff. When you open just one of those, that actually works really well. You can get into your bag, you can drag items around, you can pick up pretty much any item there is. It's all very simple, point and click, drag, very intuitive.
Double click.
Then you want to move things between two people's inventories. Or then you can't remember which party member has the inventory item you're looking for. All of a sudden your screen is filled with inventories because it opens a new one every single time. That drove me crazy. But had they been able to just make that into one inventory, I think the interface actually would have been pretty decent.
And if you have a bag, so bags are pretty important, you know, to like have sub inventories of your inventory essentially. So if like you've got a bag and you're like, you open your like backpack and then you've got like a bag in there and then you're like, oh, it's not in that bag. I need to put this into this other guy's bag. So you like open his like backpack up, that opens. Oh, I need to open that bag, that backpack. So that bag's open. So then by that time alone, it's between
just
two
cluttered.
people. Yeah.
Well, that and you've got, if that bag is not on top because stuff stacks, you have to pull the stuff out of it to get at that stuff.
Yeah, I don't mind that as much. I think that's kind of fun. As I brought up when I talked about this game last time on the podcast, it's very simulated. So things do stack inside of your inventory and stuff. And I think that's just a little bit of an immersion thing that I kind of enjoy about the game. That along with the fact that all the NPCs have schedules and it's this big open world. But that leads me to the one thing I don't like about this game. Even though overall I really love it, I think it's a blast. I don't like the lack of direction with your quests. People don't really give you hints. It's done in a very adventure game way, where each time you're on a quest, you have to walk around and talk to everyone in the town you're in and ask them everything it's possible to ask them until just by luck you happen upon the right thing and then repeat for the next piece of the puzzle.
But it doesn't even if you happen upon the right thing, does it give you some prompt that you found the right thing? It's just
no.
like you have to know
if
that.
If it's in conversation, it comes up as another option, but you got to go through all those.
But it's not like it pops up like in a modern game where it's like Badoom.
Journal. Yeah,
like
there's
journal
no journal
entry. You now have a new place to go.
Man.
It's like you got to read that shit, make a note. I got to go now talk to that fucking guy.
There's a map, Jordan. There is a map in the game.
There is a map. You carry it in your bag.
Yeah, but that's a map of the entire continent, isn't it?
Yes. So that's one way they actually could have gotten around this is if you could go to a place in town and buy a map of the town so that when you were working on a puzzle, it was very clear where things were. But as it is, you're kind of zoomed in fairly close, especially compared to like the Infinity Engine games. So when you're walking around town, it's easy to get turned around. And you have to explore the entire town to find whichever house you're looking for. So it's like you're pretty sure you need to go to the blacksmith's house. That means you have to explore the entire town until you find that. Little things like that can be a little frustrating, and they're kind of time wasty. But they didn't ruin the game for me. They just kind of had me reaching for my cloth map a lot more often.
But it's not like they did it wrong. It's like this game was like setting up all the things we expect from modern RPGs, especially. I mean, Elder Scrolls owes its soul to this.
Especially the early Elder Scrolls games were very, very, very heavily influenced by the Ultima games. If you go back and play Arena, the lineage from Ultima and even the Ultima Underworlds from Blue Sky / Looking Glass to what the Elder Scrolls did is super clear. You can tell whoever the Bethesda guys were back then that they were playing these games. It just brought them over to first person.
What was the what is the connection to Ultima Underworld and these Ultima games? It's not same team, but some of the same team.
There's a little bit of team crossover. Like Warren Spector worked at Origin, and he also worked at Blue Sky. But the Ultima Underworld games, so Ultima Underworld was being developed as an unrelated game, and then Warren Spector, I believe, kind of made the marriage happen between Blue Sky and Origin to turn it into a licensed game, and then Ultima Underworld 2 was made an Ultima game from the ground up, so it meshes directly into the main series. But those are the guys who went on to make System Shock, Thief, all those games. Some of them worked on Dishonored, so quite an awesome pedigree there.
Yeah, no doubt.
But so how far did you guys get?
Can I give my first impressions?
Sure. Yeah, why not?
Well, no, because I mean, I was going into this game with only your praises, and you're telling me about how it's heavily simulated. Okay, I love that. You're telling me about how you got to feed your characters. I'm like, okay, I don't really love that, but that's kind of cool. Like you're telling me that it was ahead of its time. It was like this. It's like, okay, well, I am on board, and I think that both you guys are correct. We do owe a lot of the things from modern gaming to these games, and this game maybe in particular. But the thing is, Andrew Ryan, when he built Rapture, like that's gaming now. Andrew Ryan as an infant, not so fun.
That's kind of a strained metaphor. Could you expound a little?
Yes. Things in their infancy, like once seen in the eyes without nostalgia looking back, it doesn't, to me, the gameplay doesn't hold up. Like these are all really cool elements, and I do appreciate what they've done for gaming as a whole, but playing with them playing in this game that is so damn difficult to just do anything. Like things like we think about nowadays. So you go to something, you hit a button to open it, or you click on it to open it. Just double clicking feels very strange in a game to me. That's one thing. And while you're right, you can pick up anything in the world. It's really, really a cool thing. But I've gotten in trouble so many times because I didn't think about what I was doing. Like when you're in this top-down world, like at least to me, it doesn't have the same gravity as being like in a room with somebody. So I didn't even think about the person that was standing in the room as I grabbed a sword off the counter.
Right.
And
that kind of points to a deeper fact about this game, which is that it wasn't really designed to be game-like. It was designed to simulate a tabletop role-playing game in some ways. Not the combat statistics part of it, but the story part of it. So you almost have to be in that headspace of, what would this be like if I was really in this area? So yeah, if you steal something in front of someone, unless you're using the huge and totally broken stealing glitch where you just drag it directly into your inventory, they'll get mad. Or if you walk in and throw their shit around, they'll get mad. If you go in and wake them up, they'll yell at you. Things like that.
If you kill people, your party members will leave. That's kind of cool.
Yep.
But now I do have some praises for this game. The sense of time, like having things change, like your color scheme as the day grows older and then to night and then to the day again. That is really cool. I got to say, I was not expecting that. Also, the ambient weather. I find the weirdest things cool in games. The fact
that was
that
huge, especially in '92.
Oh yeah, like you were on a call with me when I first started playing this. I'm like, what is going on? Like my screen is just black, like darker now. What is happening? Oh, it's going away. Wait, dude, that was a cloud that just went over me. And Rob's like, yeah, it might rain. Follow that cloud. I'm like, okay. And I followed the cloud as far as I could, but then I didn't get out of town. But when I finally did get out of town, yeah, I mean, you've got different environments that you're running around in. That is kind of neat. Granted, once I made it out of town, I immediately died for the first while.
Right. Well, and the combat is kind of weird in this game too, where it's auto combat. You just switch over to combat mode. And the other interesting thing about this game is that it comes from a time when games came with huge 50-page manuals that you were supposed to read before you played it, and then you were expected to play the game for like a year. It wasn't just kind of a thing where there's a new game coming out every month and you put in 10 hours and you're done. People put in 50, 60, 100 hours into Ultima VII because it takes so long to figure certain things out. So jumping back into it now, you almost need a walkthrough unless you're really committing on just playing this game for a few months.
Yeah, that's one of the things I learned pretty quickly. And the way I started approaching it, since we were on a timeline going to play this game, and I didn't beat it, but I decided to just play it. Actually, I was doing the walkthrough at first, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to kind of get what I can out of this game, and experience this game for what it is rather than plow through a plot, I read a little bit about the plot, and I saw it. I mean, it seems pretty simple, but it seems like that simplicity is very hard to achieve. So that's what I started doing. Is I was just like, I'm just going to play this game, explore houses, talk to people, and steal things, essentially.
Right. Well, and the plot that's there is actually pretty good, I think. You're dealing with stuff besides just the grand evil wizard. It has things. There's themes in it about religious cults. And the head of this cult in the world is kind of like an L. Ron Hubbard figure, not completely unlike Comstock in Bioshock Infinite. And right. I do think it touches on some interesting stuff, but it's not.
Yeah, that's the.
It's not done in a cinematic way or anything like you're used to seeing it in a game now. It's just some floofy text and spread out over hours and hours and hours.
It's hard to read, yeah.
And Rob says it tinkers away later on, but the these, thous, hasts, talketh it, the stuff. Oh man, that.
Not just that. It's hard to read, as in like literally
the script. Yes, it's hard to read.
Yeah, the text and the font, the color on whatever background you're on. Sometimes it's like, whoa.
Yeah, whoever picked that font should be shot.
They were like, let's go with old timey monk font. Agreed.
Let's make this first letter completely unreadable.
Is the fellowship what you were talking about? That's the...
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just, have heard about the fellowship, and still, I'm in, I spent hours in the game, and I've done almost nothing, I feel like. Except talk to people in the town and steal a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it's meant to be played. It's very leisurely. It's very much about walking around, and I would be very curious to get statistics on how many people who bought this game originally actually beat it, and I would guess that number's probably somewhere around 1%.
Really? Well, that's kind of like, we've been drawing the comparison, Elder Scrolls, a lot of people don't beat the game. They just play it to experience that thing,
Oh yeah, I had Morrowind for years. In fact, I've never beaten Morrowind. I had Oblivion for years before I actually beat it.
I've never beaten Oblivion, and I have 25 hours in it myself.
I had like 80 in Oblivion.
I have insane amount of hours in Skyrim. I did beat Skyrim, but I didn't play it to beat it. I played it. I beat it because I enjoyed that particular storyline, but I enjoyed the other parts of the game, the experience of the game, the guilds and all that stuff. That's what I enjoyed about that kind of game. And I'm sure back in the day, Skyrim not coming out for 20 years practically, I'm going to enjoy different parts of this game for that same reason, to play and experience and feel like you're part of a living world.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what I'm really excited about. In fact, I'm actually going to Google it right now because I can't remember the exact name of it. But there's a new Divinity game coming out, which I think is going to do what I've been waiting for an RPG to do for a long time, which is take the cool elements of Ultima VII, the big world with all that simulated stuff and the alive feeling, and combine it with some of the other stuff we've come to expect from RPGs in terms of production value, not letting you get completely lost for hours and hours, not having horrible game-breaking bugs.
Letting you use the keyboard for more than just hotkeys.
Yeah, well, more modern controls that are a little friendlier with what we're used to. It's called Divinity Original Sin. I think it's actually going to go on Kickstarter pretty soon. But
I think I know what that is, yeah. I think I might have showed you that, actually.
Oh, really?
Is that like the one that's got like it's kind of like that, what's that view called that's in this? Not
it's an isometric three-quarters game, yeah.
Yeah, but it's got like real-time weather and real-time physics, and it's got like an engine that's very adaptable to change, like as far as design goes, and Is that what we're talking about?
Well, you're describing what this game's like.
A British developer?
No, these guys are I think they're Eastern European.
Okay. Something very similar is coming out also on Kickstarter. I think I sent you a link to a while ago. But.
Oh, I think you're talking about Richard Garriott's game, which the name of that also escapes me because it didn't look super impressive. That just had a successful Kickstarter that just ended, I believe. Shroud of the Avatar.
That sounds right.
Yeah, that is basically an Ultima game that's not called Ultima because he doesn't have the license for it anymore. EA does.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to give that game a shot for sure when it comes out, but I wasn't sold enough to pitch in on the Kickstarter for it.
You ever think we'll see a remake of this game or like a modernization of this game? Because I feel like that would be really approachable, like with the story and what happens in it. And if they brought it into a modern style mechanically and especially control-wise, you know?
Well, EA is releasing a remake of Ultima 4 that I hear is actually pretty decent. So it's always a possibility. I mean, you're going to ruffle a lot of feathers if you remake Ultima 7, but it might be cool to see. I'm personally more excited about things like Divinity Original Sin. I'd like to see someone go to Kickstarter with basically an Ultima 7 clone that's a little moderned up. You know, that's something I'd be interested in pitching for.
All those ruffled feathers, though, all of them would buy it.
Maybe.
Same thing.
Yeah.
20 years later.
Final Fantasy 7, like, people love that game. They would love to see it. People would get pissed, but they'd still buy it.
Yeah, 20 years, especially 21 years later, it's like, guys, like we did it again and it's up modern. So like enjoy.
I think more the problem is, and it's the same problem that people have been having with the Ultima 4 remake, which is it's EA, it has none of the original people involved, and there's some fear that it's a cash grab. But
look, Ultima 7 should be a first-person linear shooter, you know, with waypoints,
cinematic QuickTime events.
Yes, pretty much all QuickTime events, and definitely no reading.
So, in comparison with some of the other classic games we've been playing, where do you guys think this sits in the canon, both in terms of how much you enjoyed going back and checking it out, and also in terms of just what it's influenced and its importance?
Well, I'd say importance-wise, I can obviously see direct influence, like I've said, on a lot of different games. So I can't deny that, you know, we all stand on the shoulders of giants, and I think a lot of people owe that credence to this game. As far as my personal opinion of it, you know, I feel like, you know, it's definitely missed the bag, you know, missed the time on this one. I'm going to keep playing it. I'm going to try more of it. But you know, there's some games are appreciated for their time and place, and that's where they're appreciated. That's what they're appreciated for is in that time and place, you know. And it's hard to go back and appreciate that. It's like I understand that I could go and listen to the first recordings, sound recordings, and I get that they're shitty because they're on wax rolls, but you know, I don't want to go listen to wax rolls. I want to listen to MP3s on my iPod, you know.
Right.
But I understand their importance, and I totally give them the credit that's due.
Okay, I think that's a good way to look at it. What about you, Jordan?
As far as enjoyment, well, I gotta say, as much as I bitched about it, I have more fun playing this than I did Conquer. And I
will
chose
agree with
Conquer.
that. I would also agree.
But as for enjoyment, I didn't really enjoy it much. I found some things novel. I think I don't have. I mean, I have the appreciation, like Colin said, but I think Colin put it aptly, and that is that it can be appreciated for what it did for the time and what it's done for the future, but let's best leave it in its time.
Okay, and for myself, I really enjoyed playing this game, but I also went into it knowing kind of what it was because I'd played it before, and I knew that it was going to take some adjustment time, and that it required a big shift in thinking about the way games work from any game of the last 15 years. Even the mid-90s, games were functioning quite differently than this. So I had a lot of fun with it, but it is a commitment to go back and play it now, which is important to know before opening it up.
I have one more thing here I want to talk about, in the fact that, I mean, in light of how it seems a lot of things are going with the future of gaming, one thing I wish would have caught on in the gaming industry nowadays, because we would have averted a lot of problems with SimCity, with Diablo 3. I love their brand of DRM. I have, I know that was probably industry standard back in 1992, but the DRM is so interesting because they supply you with a cloth map for the game, but the game asks you after a certain time of playing, in story context, of course, to prove that you are indeed the avatar. So you would, if you were the avatar, know magically these certain question or answers to these questions. And what they are is latitude and longitude numbers that are on the cloth map they provide. Now, I was playing this, and Rob's like, "Well, I have my cloth map. I'll figure these out for you. Heck yeah!" And he pulls it up, and he's like, "Son of a bitch, they're in a different language."
Yeah, I still haven't figured this out. I had to look up a walkthrough, because the map is not written in English, so I couldn't tell you what the names of the places were. But I do agree that's super interesting, and it is something that was pretty common in the 90s. I remember Elder Scrolls Arena had something kind of similar at the end of the first dungeon, but it is pretty cool. Much better than always online DRM.
Or like I remember the Leisure Suit Larry games. My dad showed me one time. He didn't show me the actual game, but I was talking about like this new ESRB thing that was out, and he's like, "Oh, well, they're gonna have it on the thing. Usually they just have stuff like this." And like Leisure Suit Larry asked you like period questions that only an adult would know.
I would love to see the looks on people's faces if they had to start answering questions that only someone born in the late 80s would know before they could buy a Call of Duty game.
I believe there's a new Leisure Suit Larry game coming out, right? I think it's a
HD remake.
Well. HD remake. Okay.
All right. Well, I think we've pretty much covered Ultima VII. If you want to check out that game, it is on GOG.com for what, $5-6, guys?
Yeah, for 2 games. Yeah. So both parts of it.
Yeah, and check out that. Check out the Ultima Underworlds. There's lots of cool stuff on there. But with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. So if you need to get a hold of us, check us out on Twitter at GameOutLoudcast, or shoot us an email at gameoutloudpodcast@gmail.com. And we will see you next week.